Recording your first single. So you've got your idea for your song and you're ready to record. Now when you come to record, what you're going to want to do is to make sure that all your vocals are audible without unwanted noise. Make sure all the instruments are tuned to the right pitch, and when you're recording different instruments, make sure the mics are not interfering with each other so they're not picking up sounds from other instruments. So you want to make sure that you've got your mics positioned in the right way. I'll provide you with some drum miking diagrams and some good miking diagrams for vocals. Vocals usually work really well in a vocal booth if you have that luxury, and then if you're recording like a whole band and musicians together, you might want to record them all together first in one take, and then you can start to overdub each instrument on top of each other. However, if you either have maybe a draft arrangement before, you can use that. If you're just working with a vocalist, for example, you might have a demo vocal, or if you're doing a cover, you've already got that recorded vocal there that they can just overdub. If you're working with a band, it's usually a good idea to record the drums first and then to start to record people over the top of each track. Make sure you use the metronome as well, which is the click feature inside the DAW digital audio workstation, and then you'll be able to synchronize the song with the right tempo. So always do rehearsals and make sure that all your instruments and all your players are like tight with the song, they know what they're going to do, and then when you're ready to record, you can get a nice clean version of the song done. If you're using MIDI, that's a great one, because you might want to use the sound of a virtual studio instrument, and then you can get your keyboard player to play in those melodies as you direct him. If you have the keyboard player and the vocalist there together, that's great too, because you can jam ideas off each other. When you're ready to record, again, make sure you record cleanly, and then you can manipulate those tracks later on. Once you've recorded everything, you want to start mixing and producing things. You might want to edit out different versions and cut things here and there. And then you're going to probably use compressors. Some people use compressors when they're recording just to squeeze the signal a bit more, because you want to get the perceived loudness to be better and to remove the big difference between high volume sounds and low volume sounds. And you can do that in the post-processing when you're producing later, to put a compressor on each track to even it out. You might want to use multiple compressors. Like, to begin with, I like to use the SSL compressor to smoothly compress things, and then maybe a sharper attack on things to really squeeze it together a lot more. Then EQ is great for removing any unwanted frequencies. Sibilance is going to be removed with a de-esser on vocals, that's a good one. And then you can also put EQ back on to enhance certain things like high end on the vocal to make it cut through more. And then I would suggest you use tools like reverb to give things more life, because when you record things they can sound really dry, and the reverb will give it more character and naturalness. Chorus and flange and delay and things like that are again great effects, but should be used sparingly, because if you use them on the whole mix, then it can really imbalance it and exaggerate frequencies a bit too much. Once you've balanced all the tracks together, and you should be mixing them together as a whole, because when you solo things they sound differently to when it's in the mix, and the most important thing is the final mix. So get a good balanced mix, and then you want to go on to the mastering stage. Some people like to use a mastering engineer, but you can do that yourself, and there's a few things that you can use to get a good master. The first thing is that you want to be using an analyzer, frequency analyzer and spatial analyzer, to look at the stereo image and to also look at the frequencies. A good tip is to reference to another song that you like the sound of and make sure it's in the same key, and then listen how loud their kick drum is or how loud their vocal is, and the stereo width of things as well, and just try to emulate that in your mix, but don't go too much with what they've done, because you want to retain your idea as well, but not making sure it's translated well enough into the final product. And then you can use things like the match EQ to identify different frequencies on their song compared to your song, and then so that analyzes their song, what frequencies they've got versus what frequencies you've got, and then it can put that onto yours to add or extract. Use it sparingly though, because it might change things way too much. And then you can use like a low pass and a high pass to remove the very high end and the very low end frequencies. Some people like to use Dynamics EQ or Dynamics bands on the final mix, which can tame like different bands in the frequency spectrum. And then some people can use a reverb on the whole mix, but use that sparingly, and it can give some great life to it. And then finally, like a limiter on the output is very good. I would suggest using the iZotope Ozone. It's very transparent, and you can push that mix a little bit more and maybe add some saturation as well to give it a nice loud final product. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this free tutorial, please check out my music production course on Udemy right now.